Now to discuss that more, we're joined by Mr. Jason Unruhe, political commentator, who is joining us live right now. Mr. Unruhe, tell us where you think this situation is heading. Do you believe that eventually there will be room for some kind of negotiation to return to the JCPOA?
Well, hopefully in the future there will be a return to the JCPOA, but it has been very clear here that it is the United States that has refused to take the principled position. They are well aware that the false accusation 2 years ago by Donald Trump and Israel that Iran had violated the agreement, thus justifying the new sanctions, was not true, and that it was completely contrived in order to place the maximum pressure campaign on Iran because they had continued to fulfill the agreement. The hope was that if they pulled out, Iran would do something that would violate the agreement, and then the U.S. would have the justification to demand a new agreement which would place more damaging sanctions, a more strict agreement on Iran in order to harm its economy, but that's not the case. Iran remained within the agreement and did everything it was supposed to, despite the fact that, quite frankly, no one else did. None of the European signatories dragged their feet on taking any kind of measures to compensate for the loss of the United States. The United States has wholly abandoned the actual agreement to begin with. Now, these new rounds of talks are basically the United States saying there has to be a give and take to return to the JCPOA, when it is the United States that is very clearly in the wrong here. They are the ones that should remove the unjust and frankly illegal sanctions that they have placed on Iran as a result of their own sabotaging of the agreement. So it's very hard to get a world actor like the United States to actually play by the rules, because they have, essentially since their creation, dictated to everyone else what the rules were and then never followed them themselves. I mean, that's kind of the problem when dealing with the United States, is that essentially their political landscape has no integrity whatsoever, especially when it comes to international relations, particularly those they see as threats to their imperialist order, Iran being one of those countries that is not under their domination. So I personally am not very optimistic about the situation, about there being some kind of agreement, because the United States has acted completely belligerently in this case, and they know for a fact that if they just remove those unjust sanctions that were added by Donald Trump, the entire agreement could be brought back to almost instantaneously. They're aware of that. They don't want to do that because they want to justify continuing those sanctions against Iran.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jason Unruhe, political commentator, who's joining us live.